Oh, hello. Welcome to the 2013 Hundie Challenge. Today we're going to be discussing Deliberateness by Penisy McGee. Dee-doo-dee-doo-doo, dee-doo-doo-doo-dee-doo-doo-doo-doo, dee-doo-dee-doo-doo, dee-doo-doo-doo-dee-doo-doo-doo. So let's get the elephant out of the room first. Deliverance is much more famous as a movie than a book. I never saw the movie. I think I saw the first 5 minutes because I know that I've seen the scene when Drew is playing the dueling banjos with the albino kid. And even if I hadn't seen that part, everybody knows that part. And everybody knows that it's about getting cornholed by hillbillies. As for what happens to the men after they get cornholed by hillbillies, popular culture does not, intervene. I think we all know the end of Casablanca, but not necessarily everybody knows the end of Deliverance. So I came into this with a little bit of a idea of what it was about. But being as it was on the Modern Library Top 100, I figured there had to be a lot more to it than, a Jon Voight movie. It was interesting. It was a first-person narrative. And I think this is the second or maybe the third one I've done. The Postman Always Rings Twice comes to mind. A lot of the blurbs and the quotes on the book talk about how, visceral and intense it is. And to that end, not to get too meta on this, but since I started doing the 100 books in a year challenge, I found myself reading at odd times and in odd places that I don't normally. Every time I have a spare minute, if I'm in the bathroom, if there's a commercial on TV, or sometimes into the night, just to keep my page count, where it needs to be, I'll be reading. Now, with what that also means is that I'll find myself falling asleep as I'm reading a lot. Just because it'll be the middle of the night, or it'll be during the afternoon blahs when you're passing out on your porch, and so on and so forth. Anyway, not to get too much into that. But what I did want to say was, there were two occasions when I was reading Deliverance, when I was in that blah state, and I forget if it was, 1 in the morning, and I was, ready to pass out or what, but there were 2 times reading this book when I was very physically just ready to fall asleep, and then bam, I just snapped awake. And each time, I remember that specifically, I could probably go back to the book and point out the paragraphs, but it was when one of the mountain folks came onto the scene, okay? And the mountain folks, I think one of them, he is named, but only once, and I don't even remember what it was. But like I said, the whole thing is from the first-person perspective of one of the canoers who ends up in a battle of wills with a mountain man who's trying to kill all of the canoers to cover up the rape and the attempted rape and get revenge for his friend who was murdered by the canoers. But anyway, both of the times that the hillbillies actually made a physical presence, and that's the thing about this book, it's a little shy of 300 pages, and maybe 10, 15, 20 of them actually has the hillbilly in it. And each time that the hillbilly showed up, it was completely out of the blue, like a bolt out of the sky on a clear day, and it was just like electrifying, and it really did just like tense you up. Just a person just appeared, and what are his intent? The first time it was, well, what is their intent? And then the second time when he appeared, and Ed, who's the main character, the first-person narrator, is trying to hunt the guy down and kill him, it was just intense, just like suspense on like, I guess, like the bullshit quotes on the front say, on a visceral level. Like I've said a couple of times on my other videos, I have been making an effort not to do too much research into these books, just kind of taking them at face value for whatever that's worth. if I had to guess about this book, I don't think James Dickey ever killed a hillbilly in the wilderness and covered it up. But I would guess that he went on a really intense canoeing trip and went hunting some deer and, just added a little bit of drama to that, because it does feel very real. You do know what he means when he's talking about the rapids and climbing the tree and climbing the mountainside and being wounded and suffering. And there really was a lot more to it there than like I was saying earlier, than pop culture would lead you to believe based on the movie. Even so, this was, I think, the most modern novel I've read so far in the challenge. It was 1970. And it was a little more slight, not very philosophical or anything, but as a portrait of, almost like a thriller, almost, set in the woods. And it was very successful on that basis, and a very interesting read, and a very quick read, and a very easy read. The only thing that's been easier was The Postman Always Rings Twice, easier and faster. So yeah, I would definitely recommend Deliverance. I am glad I didn't watch the movie before seeing it, so I wasn't constantly comparing it in my head or anything. But let me know in the comments if maybe you did watch the movie. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Next time, if I'm not too far off schedule, we will be reading Augie March by Saul Bellow. Thanks for tuning in.